So we all know we live in a time of crisis. We haven't seen anything like this since the Civil War. Our nation has faced really tough times, but I don't think anything as critical as today, because it's not like the Civil War. It's not North versus South. It's neighbor against neighbor. And we are being flooded this week. Just this week alone, the border's going to change. And I hope America sees and wakes up to what's really happening. I have no problem with immigrants. I have a problem with people who come here illegally and aren't here for the freedoms that we enjoy. Americans believe that governments are instituted of God for the benefit of man, and that he holds us accountable for our acts in relation to them, both in making laws and administering them. And those are for the good and safety of society. We don't believe that a government can exist in peace except when our laws are framed to secure each individual's free exercise of conscience, the right and control of property, the protection of life. And governments will necessarily require civil officers and magistrates to enforce the laws of the same, and they're supposed to administer the law equally. Justice sought out and upheld by the voice of the people. But something's happened. We've expected to maintain our freedom. And those political institutions that were founded upon faith in God and the belief in the existence of actual truth, eternal truth, moral laws. God has endowed men with certain inalienable rights, and no legislature, no majority, however great, may morally limit or destroy those rights. The function of government is to protect life, liberty, and property. And anything more or less than this is a usurpation. I really believe that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence came through a group of men who believed in God and were inspired by God. And it is a covenant. It is a solemn contract between the peoples of the states and the officers of the government. And we have a duty to obey under God the eternal moral laws that are all in our founding documents. When you actually compare what's in the Constitution to what's in the scriptures, in the Bible, you'd be amazed. It's all from the scriptures. But today, all of these things that we have taken for granted, I remember after 9/11, we all came together, and I expected that. I thought everybody was together. And then a few years later, everybody started to turn. And you're like, wait, what happened? I thought we were all together. Because so many people did not believe the things that Americans have always believed, the things that we always found self-evident. The government just became about expediency. The government has condoned the breakdown of law and order. Law enforcement alone is at a breaking point. The police force, they're quitting. All kinds of cities have massive vacancies. And who's going to join? Not only the cities are looking for recruits, but our military is also looking for recruits. Who wants to join? both of them being demoralized, and the hostile attitudes of the politically minded. Cops are being demoralized by grabbing somebody off the street, taking them in, and then just they free them. Some of the hardest criminals, most hardened, they're released as soon as they're arrested, which shows the police what? We care more about the criminal rights than the people's. Edmund Burke said, he was a statesman from England. He said, men are qualified for civil liberty in exact proportion to their disposition to put moral chains upon their own appetites, in proportion as their love of justice is above their vanity and appetites. Society cannot exist unless somebody puts a governor, a regulator on our appetites. And in America, that bargain has always been you, me, nobody else. Don't tell me what's moral. Don't tell me what's right and wrong. Take care of your own house. I'll take care of mine. But when none of us have a regulator, or enough of us have taken and rotted all of the things that underpin that in each of us and our families, then we can't be free. You cannot be free. For the first time in my life, I'm not worried about America being destroyed by some global power. The Russians, nuclear bombs. Our civilization, no. All of humanity dies when we no longer care. Americans lose their freedoms when nobody cares anymore. We have one of the biggest things to happen to mankind of all time, AI. Do you hear your friends really talking about it other than in a passing sort of way? Hey, have you seen the new Chat GPT? It's pretty cool, huh? Our country, if we surrender our freedom, it will be because of Americans. And it won't be just the work of the subversive and criminal Americans. It'll be those Americans who think they're fine, think they're American. Yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but not really. Lincoln was asked, at what point then is the approach of danger to be expected? He said, quote, if it ever reaches us, it must spring up among us. It can't come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we ourselves must be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide. Well, have you seen the rate of suicide in our nation? If America is destroyed, it may be destroyed by the Americans who still salute the flag, sing the national anthem, are there for the patriotic parades, cheer on the 4th of July. Those people who are normally great Americans. But they are Americans that fail to comprehend what is required to keep our country strong and free. We're lulled away into a false sense of security because we think the government's job is to keep us safe. It's not. Great nations are never conquered from the outside unless they are rotten deep to the core. Our greatest national problem today is not the erosion of soil or air. It's the erosion of our national morality, the erosion of traditional enforcement of law and order, the erosion of truth, verifiable eternal truths. Theodore Roosevelt said, "The things that will destroy America are prosperity at any price." We're there. People don't care. Just make money. Peace at any price. Safety first instead of duty first. The love of soft living and get rich quick theory of life. That's Roosevelt. All those things are affecting us. We have exalted security and comfort and ease above freedom. If we dwelled at length on the things that are disturbing in the American society today, we could become discouraged. Many of us are. There's all kinds of things that we're on fire. Riots, inflation, crime, more federal intervention, more laws, our schools. The men of power and prestige and great influence in the political structure of America have permitted the concept of freedom of speech to be expanded to include subversion, intimidation, sedition, incitement to riot. They have condoned the distortion of academic freedom to encompass the adulteration of young minds with all of these socialist, communist, crazy, anarchist doctrines. The disintegration of our educational system. It is the great men of power and prestige and great influence that have allowed freedom of assembly to mushroom into mob rule, riot, insurrection, burning of cities, all being called by those great men and women of power, prestige, and great influence as a peaceful protest. We may not be able to change the course of those in authority here in the United States. They may be on a suicidal course. I mean, they are. We've already, that ship's already left the dock. We may not be able to turn that ship because we have to replace them by men of will. We can't hope to be a nation of peace and order. We need to have it in our own life. We need to seek true justice under the law, true opportunities to serve. We have to have a renewal of the spirit of our forefathers, an appreciation of the American way of life, of strengthening of our character. America doesn't need more guns. America needs more guts. The guts to stand up, say the things that you mean the things that you say, and know the difference between right and wrong, truth and lies. Our national character is the core of our national defense, and our national character has been lost. Before anybody in Washington talks about guns and how they have to be removed, before they talk about any other problem, we should be talking about the lack of guts